This is where we move on to the guest spot of the evening. As introduction, when I left school, I had a reasonable working knowledge of American folk and blues, and knew absolutely nothing of English or British, to be perfectly honest. But I was fortunate because I went to a college that had an extremely good folk club, where I was introduced to such things as the Watersons, the Young Tradition, Carthyans, Swarbrick, Renbourn and Yanch, the McPeaks, the list goes on and on. Anyway, we're fortunate here to have tonight, as our guest, the guy who actually founded that folk club, which is Imperial College. He is now a stalwart of Rhyl Folk Club, Brian Bull.
Thank you. I've unmuted myself, hoping that I will stay unmuted now. Is that okay? Yep, looks good. Yes, thanks very much for that introduction, Nick. It's a long time ago, 1963 to be exact. I founded the Imperial College Folk Club, and if you saw the list of guest artists that we had in those days, every single one of them is now a legend. Anyway, I thought I'd kick off. Thanks very much for inviting me as your guest this evening. And I thought I might kick off with an old favourite that I've been singing for many years. It's all about a hen night, which is going so well that it ends up lasting all week. It's of three drunken maidens came from the Isle of Wight. They drank from Monday morning all unto Saturday night. When Saturday night came round, my boys, they wouldn't then go out. And these three drunken maidens, they pushed the jug about. Then along comes bouncing Sally, her cheeks are red in bloom. Move up, me jolly sisters, and give Sally some room, for I'll be your equal before we do go out. And these four drunken maidens, they push the jug about. There's woodcock and pheasant, and there's partridge and hare. There's all kinds of dainties, no scarcity was there. There's 40 quarts of beer, me boys, they've fairly drunk them out. And these four drunken maidens, they push the jug about. Then along comes the landlord, he's looking for his pay. Here's a £40 bill, me boys, these maids was forced to pay. That's £10 a piece, me boys, but still they wouldn't go out. And these four drunken maidens, they push the jug about. Oh, where are your feathered caps and your mantles rich and fine? Oh, they have all been swallowed up a-drinking of good wine. And where are your maidenheads, you maidens brisk and gay? Oh, we left them in the alehouse, we drank them clean away. Where are your maidenheads, you maidens brisk and gay? Oh, we left them in the alehouse, we drank them clean away. Very much. Nic mentioned Martin Carthy as being one of our guests at Imperial College. This is a song which I learned from Martin Carthy, or at least from one of his records. Like Nic, I started off playing a lot of American stuff, mostly inherited from Lonnie Donegan. I don't know if anybody remembers Lonnie Donegan, but that's where I learned my early songs from, and they're all American. And then I got interested in English folk music, and I wanted to try and find an English way, an English sounding way of accompanying these songs. And I heard this song on one of Martin's early records called A Sailor's Life, and I discovered that it was in a totally different tuning. So nowadays I never ever play in standard tuning, as you guitarists probably have noticed already. I kind of use alternative tunings. Here's A Sailor's Life. A sailor's life is a merry life, and they rob young girls of their heart's delight, leaving them behind to weep and mourn. They never know when they will return. It's 4 and 20 all in a row, and it's my sweetheart cuts the finest show. He's proper tall, genteel withal. If I don't have him, I'll have none at all. Oh, Father, build me a bonny boat, that on the wide ocean I may float, and every queen ship we pass by will make enquire for my sailor boy. Well, she had not sailed long upon the deep before some queen ship she chanced to meet. You sailors all, pray tell me, does my sweet William sail amongst your crew? Oh no, fair lady, he is not here, for he is drowned, and we greatly do fear. On yon green isle, as we pass by, there we lost sight of your sailor boy. She wrung her hands and she tore her hair, much like a damsel in great despair. Her little boat against the rocks did run. How can I live now that my William is gone? You had the sneezes all day. I don't know if it's a pollen in the air or what. But... Excuse me. Right. I'm off screen there. I'm picking up my squeeze box, or as we like to call it, a concertina. I used to play a lot of different instruments at one time. I had a house full of musical instruments which I could nearly play. And I decided it wasn't a good idea to divide myself amongst so many different instruments, because I'd never get to be any good on any of them. So I cut it down to just the concertina and the guitar. That's what I stuck with. And here's a song. Lots of English folk songs tell a story, but there's no real story to this one. It's just simply a praise of English beer. And my excuse for singing a song in praise of English beer is I come from Burton-upon-Trent in Staffordshire, which is, or at least it used to be, renowned the world over for its beer making. John Barleycorn is a hero bold as any in the land. For ages good his fame has stood, and it shall for ages stand. The whole wide world respecteth him, no matter friend or foe. And them there be that makes too free, he's sure to lay them low. Hey, John Barleycorn, oh, John Barleycorn, old and young thy praise hath sung. John Barleycorn. To see him in his pride of growth, his robes are rich and green. His head is speared with goodly beard, fit nigh to serve the Queen. And when the reaping time comes round, and John is stricken down, he'll use his blood for England's good, and Englishmen renown. Hey, John Barleycorn, oh, John Barleycorn, old and young thy praise hath sung. John Barleycorn. Now the king in courtly castle, and the squire in stately hall, the great of name, of birth and fame, on John for succour call. He makes the troubled hearts rejoice, brings warmth to nature's cold, makes old men young and weak men strong, and all men brave and bold. Hey, John Barleycorn, oh, John Barleycorn, old and young thy praise hath sung. John Barleycorn. So shout for great John Barleycorn, join this song of mine. I've not the mind much charm to find, all in a glass of wine. Give me my native nut brown ale, all other drinks I scorn. For England's cheer is England's beer, our own John Barleycorn. Hey, John Barleycorn, oh, John Barleycorn, old and young thy praise hath sung. John Barleycorn. Hey, John Barleycorn, oh, John Barleycorn, old and young thy praise hath sung. John Barleycorn. Thanks very much. While I was down in London in the early 60s, bluffing my way through a science course at Imperial College, I spent a lot of time, more time than I should have done, going to every sort of jazz club and folk club that I could find out about, and quite a lot of jazz and folk and blues concerts I went to as well. And one of the concerts I went to featured Pete Seeger, American folk singer who I admired very much. And he sang, amongst the many songs he sang a song called The Bells of Rumney. Now, Rumney is obviously in South Wales, and so are all the other places that are mentioned in this song. And I found out about this, the background to this song. It was written as a poem originally in 1938 by a Welsh coal miner called Idris Davis. And obviously in the 30s it was a time of considerable strife, industrial strife, the Great Depression and so on. And Idris Davis imagined the church bells in South Wales all expressing their view about what was going on and kind of taking sides and expressing their view. The poem wasn't that well known, but it was picked up by Pete Seeger some years later, I think in the late 1940s, and he put music to it and turned it into a song. So this was the song that Pete Seeger sang at the concert that I went to, and it was in his repertoire for many, many years, called The Bells of Rumney. What will you give me, say the sad bells of Rumney? Is there hope for the future, say the brown bells of Merthyr? Who made the mine owners, say the black bells of Rhondda? And who robbed the miner, say the grim bells of Ballina? They will plunder willy-nilly, say the bells of Caerphilly. They have fangs, they have teeth, shout the loud bells of Neath. Even God is uneasy, say the moist bells of Swansea. And what will you give me, say the sad bells of Rumney. Throw the vandals in court, say the bells of Newport. All would be well if, say the green bells of Cardiff. Why so worried, sisters, why? Sang the silver bells of Wye. And what will you give me, say the sad bells of Rumney. Yes, it's what will you give me, say the sad bells of Rumney. I'd like to sing you a song about one of England's great heroines. She was very, very famous in Victorian times. In fact, she was one of the most famous women in England for a number of years, and songs were written about her. This is one of the songs that were written. Her name, if I mention the name, I'm sure you'll recognize it instantly. Her name was Grace Darling. And she, I think it was about 1851 or 1852, I've just forgotten the date now. She was a young girl, teenage girl, living with her family, with her father. Her father was the lighthouse keeper at the Longstone Lighthouse. And the Longstone Lighthouse was built on the Farne Islands, the Farne Islands just off the coast of Northumberland. And Grace looked out of the window of the lighthouse early one morning. There'd been a bad storm, a really bad storm during the night, and it was still pretty bad. She looked out the window and saw 9 people clinging to the rocks across the way, and they were survivors of a ship which had broken up on the rocks and gone down. And she and her father rowed out and rescued these survivors, for which she became very famous. The only thing I don't like about this song, I think it's a terrific song anyway. It's a bit corny, which is only to be expected with a Victorian song, I guess. But the only thing I don't like about it is it kind of makes out in the song that John Darling, her father, was a bit of a coward, and she had to kind of push him into doing this. In actual fact, this was, I think, very unfair and not true at all. They both rowed out the first time, and they brought back several of the survivors, and then Grace Darling actually stayed in the lighthouse and fed them and gave them some hot tea and so on, and tried to dry them out, while her father rowed out a second time on his own in this storm and brought back the rest of the survivors, because the boat wasn't big enough to bring them all in one go. So he actually went twice. So I do think it's a bit unfair to give him this kind of image of being a coward, but they wanted to big up Grace Darling's part. There was no need to big it up, really, because it was a tremendously brave thing that she did. But anyway, apart from that one little quibble that I have, I think it's a damn good song. Grace Darling and the Longstone Lighthouse. This, by the way, is one of my lockdown songs. I've been learning a few new songs in lockdown, as I'm sure quite a few of us have. So I've only just started trotting this one out in public. We'll see how it goes. Pray for me. 'Twas on the Longstone Lighthouse there lived an English maid, pure as the air around her, of dangers ne'er afraid. One morning just at daybreak a storm-tossed wreck she spied. Then up spoke brave Grace Darling, I'll save the crew, she cried. And she pulled away on the rolling sea, over the waters blue. Help, help, she could hear the cry of the shipwrecked crew. Now Grace had an English heart, the raging storm she braved. She pulled away midst the dashing spray, and the crew she saved. They to the rocks were clinging, a crew of 9 all told. Between them and the lighthouse the seas like mountains rolled. Grace cried, "Come help me, father, let's launch the boat," cried she. "'Tis madness," cried her father, "to face that raging sea." And she pulled away on the rolling sea, over the waters blue. Help, help, she could hear the cry of the shipwrecked crew. Now Grace had an English heart, the raging storm she braved. She pulled away away midst the dashing spray, and the crew she saved. One murmured prayer, heaven guard us, and then they were afloat. Between them and destruction, the planks of that frail boat. "'Tis madness," cried her father, "turn back or doomed are we." Then up spoke brave Grace Darling, "Alone I'll face the sea." And she pulled away on the rolling sea, over the waters blue. Help, help, she could hear the cry of the shipwrecked crew. Now Grace had an English heart, the raging storm she braved. She pulled away midst the dashing spray, and the crew she saved. They rode the angry billows and reached the rocks at length. They saved the shipwrecked sailors, in heaven alone their strength. Go tell the wide world over what English pluck can do, and sing of brave Grace Darling, who nobly saved that crew. And she pulled away on the rolling sea, over the waters blue. Help, help, she could hear the cry of the shipwrecked crew. Now Grace had an English heart, the raging storm she braved. She pulled away midst the dashing spray, and the crew she saved. And she pulled away on the rolling sea, over the waters blue. Help, help, she could hear the cry of the shipwrecked crew. Now Grace had an English heart, the raging storm she braved. She pulled away midst the dashing spray, and the crew she saved. She pulled away midst the dashing spray, and the crew she saved. Thank you.
Okay. Ryan, can you give us two more in this set?
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's fine.
And then come back at 20 past to finish us off.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll just do a quick plug. This, can you see that okay? This is a CD, and I'm not just simply selling this CD. What I want you to do, if you would, I'd like to send some money to UNICEF for their COVID vaccination program. They've got a program where they're trying to help countries that need help, and there's quite a lot of these countries that need help, have hardly vaccinated anybody so far. And they've got a program going, not just simply to send vaccine, but actually to provide all the, PPE and fridges to keep the vaccine cool, etc., etc., all the support system that they need. If you would like to help that, if you would send me a cheque for £5, that's my suggested donation. If you can't afford £5, okay, send something less, but whatever you can afford, really. I'm suggesting £5, and in return I'll send you this CD, which was recorded live at Rhyl Folk Club. I think there's about 18 songs on it altogether. What I'd like you to do, if you would please, I'll put the details on the chat room in a few minutes. I'd like you to make the check out to UNICEF, and I'll gather whatever checks I get. I'll put them all together, send them off to UNICEF, and I'll send you, if you give me your address, I'll send you a CD in return as a thank you. Okay, that's the deal. Now then, what was I going to say? I know what I was going to sing. This is a song which is called The Rout of the Blues, and the blues in this song are a regiment of household cavalry called the Blues, and the song is about circumstances in 1803 when they were billeted in Salisbury, and they got their route or their marching orders to move from Salisbury to Croydon, south of London, because they were expecting that Bonaparte might invade at any moment, and they wanted one or two crack regiments to get in his way and frustrate his ideas. Anyway, the local ladies were very upset to see the Blues marching off and leaving Salisbury. That's what this song is about. The only other thing I should mention is the Blues were the favourite regiment of King George III at the time, and he liked to dress up in their uniform, just in his bedroom, of course, not on the battlefield. As I rode over Salisbury Plain, such a dainty fine sight came in view. All the lasses all crying and tearing their hair, for the rout has now come for the Blues. Yes, the rout has now come for the Blues. Then each maiden unto her mother did run, saying, I am undone, it is true. Come pack all my things, and without more ado, so boldly I'll march with the Blues. Yes, so boldly I'll march with the Blues. Oh, the landlord and landlady walk hand in hand, so do those pretty girls too. And each one pours out a bottle of gin for to drink a good health to the Blues. Yes, to drink a good health to the Blues. Our ship it is rigged and we all set sail, sweetly the French horn played too. And each one gave out with a loud huzzah, his success to King George and his Blues. His success to King George and his Blues. They're as gallant young fellows as ever you'll see, though you search bonny Britain all through. When dressed in His Majesty's suit, you'll agree, none can compare with the Blues. No, there's none can compare with the Blues. As I rode over Salisbury Plain, such a dainty fine sight came in view. All the lasses all crying and tearing their hair, for the rout has now come for the Blues. Yes, the rout has now come for the Blues. As I rode over Salisbury Plain, such a dainty fine sight came in view. All the lasses all crying and tearing their hair, for the rout has now come for the Blues. Yes, the rout has now come for the Blues. Thank you very much, everybody, for making me feel so welcome here. It took me a while to get used to Zooming. I've been sort of singing to live people ever since the early 60s, and singing to a computer seemed very odd to me when I started doing it, but I have gradually got used to it. But it would be nice to be able to get back together again, wouldn't it, in the flesh, so to speak. So once you get going, I'm hoping to come over there and annoy you in Northwich in the flesh, so to speak. Okay, a couple of songs to finish off. I've always tried to sort of get all kinds of different songs into my repertoire, and it sounds posh, doesn't it? Repertoire. I'm not posh at all. And this is an old ballad. Ballads are story songs, and usually they go back a very long way. This one probably goes back to at least the middle of the 18th century, maybe even further back. And it's a ballad called "The Trees They Do Grow High." It's about an arranged marriage, and arranged marriages were relatively common amongst the landed gentry and the nobility, not amongst the riffraff like us, you know, but amongst the nobility. And it was a way of kind of cementing alliances between different families. So it was not just a marriage, it was a kind of a peace treaty and a business deal all rolled into one. Anyway, the young lady in this particular story, which is allegedly based on fact, is very seriously distressed with her father for marrying her off to a young man who's several years younger than she is. She's not happy about it because she thinks he's not up to the job. But as the song progresses, she seems to mellow a little bit. Trees they do grow high. Oh, the trees, they do grow high, and the leaves, they do grow green. And it's many's the cold winter's night my love and I have seen. On a cold winter's night, my love, you and I alone have been. Oh, my bonny boy is young, but he's growing, growing, growing. Oh, my bonny boy is young, but he's growing. Oh, father, dear father, you've done to me much wrong. You've wed me to a boy when you know he is too young. For he is only 16 years and I am 21. Oh, my bonny boy is young, but he's growing, growing. Oh, growing, my bonny boy is young, but he's growing. Oh, daughter, dear daughter, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll send your love to college for another year or two. All around his college cap we'll tie a ribbon blue, for to let the ladies know that is married. Married, married, oh, to let the ladies know that he's married. She went down to the college and she looked at o'er the wall, saw 24 gentlemen a-playing at the ball. She called out for her own true love, the flower of them all. Oh, her bonny boy was young, but still growing. Growing, growing, oh, her bonny boy was young, but still growing. Early the next morning, at the dawning of the day, they went down to the hayfield where they might sport and play. And what they did together there she never more would say, but no longer she's complained of his growing. Growing, growing, oh, no longer she's complained of his growing. Was at the age of 16 he was a married man, and at the age of 17 the father to a son, and at the age of 18 the grass grew over him. Cruel death soon put an end to his growing. Growing, growing, oh, cruel death soon put an end to his growing. Now my love is dead and in yonder grave do lie. The green grass groweth over him so very, very high. I'll sit here and mourn his death until the day I die, and I'll watch all o'er his child while he's growing. Growing, growing, oh, I'll watch all o'er his child while he's growing. Growing, growing, oh, I'll watch all o'er his child while he's growing. Very much. I'd like to finish off with a good old favourite. I like to have some good chorus songs in my repertoire to get the audience singing. So if you feel like singing along, even though I won't be able to hear you, by all means do. This is a well-known end of night type song called The Rose of Allendale. Oh, the morn was fair and the sky it was clear, no breath came over the sea, when Mary left her Highland home and wandered forth with me. Though flowers decked the mountainside and fragrance filled the vale, by far the sweetest flower there was the rose of Allendale. Sweet rose of Allendale, sweet rose of Allendale, by far the sweetest flower there was the rose of Allendale. Where'er I wandered to the east or the west, and fate began to lower, a solace still to me was she in sorrow's lonely hour. Though tempest wrecked my lonely bark and rent the quivering sail, one maiden form withstood the storm, 'twas the rose of Allendale. Sweet rose of Allendale, sweet rose of Allendale, one maiden form withstood the storm, 'twas the rose of Allendale. And when my fevered lips they were parched on Africa's burning sands, she whispered hope of happiness and tales of foreign land. My life would be a wilderness, unblessed by fortune's gales, had fate not linked my love to her, sweet rose of Allendale. Sweet rose of Allendale, sweet rose of Allendale, had fate not linked my love to her, sweet rose of Allendale. Sweet rose of Allendale, sweet rose of Allendale, had fate not linked my love to her, sweet rose of Allendale. Thank you very much.
Who's it for? Leslie.
Can we persuade you to do one more, Brian?
Oh, right, okay.
I know we're overrunning slightly, but I don't think anyone...
Not a long way
Right.
home, is it? Really?
I wasn't expecting to do an encore, so normally I try and have one in my back pocket, but I hadn't thought about it. How about this one? It's an old, another great chorus song, actually, an old sea shanty called Tom's Gone to Hilo. Hilo is a real place. It's a seaport town in the Hawaiian Islands, and it's a place where the whaling ships used to call in to replenish their stores when they're on a long voyage into the Pacific looking for whales. In this instance, Tom has gone to Hilo to get away from a girlfriend who's got a drink problem. And he's hoping that, because he's going to be away for a couple of years, he's hoping that by the time he comes back, it won't be his problem anymore, I think. Right. Tommy's gone on a whaling ship, away to High-Low. Oh, Tommy's gone on a damn long trip. Tom's gone to High-Low. He never kissed his girl goodbye. Away to High-Low. He left her and he told her why. Tom's gone to High-Low. She'd robbed him blind and left him broke. Away to High-Low. He'd had enough, he gave her the poke. Tom's gone to High-Low. She drank and boozed his pay away. Away to High-Low, with a weather eye on his next payday. Tom's gone to High-Low. His half pay went, it went like chaff. Away to High-Low. She hung around for the other half. Tom's gone to High-Low. Tommy's gone all around Cape Horn, away to High-Low. He'll wish to Christ he'd never been born. Tom's gone to High-Low. Tommy's gone and left her flat. Away to High-Low. Oh, Tommy's gone and he'll not come back. Tom's gone to High-Low. Tommy's gone on a whaling ship. Away to High-Low. Oh, Tommy's gone on a damn long trip. Tom's gone to High-Low.